Hi, this is Super Kite the Kid, and today I am in Minecraft, and if you cannot see, it is beta 1.7, and I'm pretty happy because there's pistons, and so I have created a contraption. Nothing really has changed outside, because I have been recently playing multiplayer instead of single player, but I have built something huge, like big. Took me 1 day of planning and 2 days of work. Now this thing is a redstone contraption, so that's why it took 1 day to plan. So let's go to it. Now remember when I said there was pistons? Well, I was striving for using pistons and to use it in action, and I succeeded, sort of. So let's go into my base. Now remember when I said that this place was under construction? Well, it isn't anymore. Except for this part. So let's go. And you can see I kind of changed it so I could just drop here. So the biggest change you could already notice is I sealed up my bedroom and made it in a door because, well, it's kind of lonely. It's kind of big to put your bedroom here. So yeah, put it here. My bed, I could sleep in it. My chest. Oh, and if you could see, I got this mod for a reason. You'll see why later on. So yeah, now the pistons. There's something really big. There's a big secret in this entire area. Now remember I had this hatch like right here. It could go down. Well, it's still there. It's just hidden with pistons. So in order to open the hatch, which is somewhere here, you have to first press the lever or lever. In this corner right here, you can click another lever. You hear a door open. You go outside, no door. I wonder why. Oh look, a painting. So this is another lever. Open it up. Here another piston work. Let me first close this. So you go outside, and ta-da! The secret passageway is open. Oh, how I love pistons. Now remember this area where I had my gold items? Well, now I have added a password system. Now this is nothing compared to the big thing I built underneath. I'm going to explain it later on in the video. For now, let's see. We have gold, and we have probably steel here. I didn't put any yet. Now, what about diamond? Now, diamond is really expensive, so I didn't actually put it in the chest here. It's not on here too either. It's the gold ingots. So basically, I made this password system for a reason. You'll see why later. Now, the password system uh, is made out of simple mechanics. It's kind of a essentials to know for Minecraft, but it takes quite a big space to make. If that makes sense. Oh my gosh, what is that? Okay, so basically is these five levers are connected to 3 redstone. One, because there's only 2 levers that actually work. However, this is a password. This opens this secret door right here. However, if I was just to do that, it will not require the middle section. I could just make the other levers studs, but they're not. So if I was to press this one, it will be the wrong password and it will turn off. So if I was to press every single lever here, it won't work. So in order to design that, I came to this place, connected all the ones that are actually wrong into one single redstone, and put it onto an AND gate, so that if it was to not work, if it was to be triggered, then this will turn on, so that this will turn off. And this passageway leads all the way to the piston. Basically, it's like a fail-safe, you know, so if one was to fail, the other would back it up, if that makes sense. So let's go down. Ta-da! It's a big room. It's like really big. Yeah, sure, it's really small, but it's big. Trust me. So now this took me 2 days to build. The other one only took me like 2 hours. So you can see the chest right there, but it's locked. Now in order to go in, first you can see 8 buttons on each corner. Now this is also a password, and you see 2 redstone here. Now the redstone acts as a warner, so if I was to press wrong, it would actually blink or shut off for a second. And yeah, and it takes some time because it's a big contraption. It takes such a big while because number 1, the buttons need to be pressed in order. Number 2, one button cannot be pressed twice. And number 3, the buttons, if pressed wrong, will reset the entire system. So yeah, so this is the password. See the redstones are blinking, so we know that it's actually right. Press it one more time, and then one more, and then the door opens like this. To go in, and diamond should be in here, but I don't have it right now. And then there's lava here, you know, so if something was to go bad, explosions, blah blah blah, they would fall in, and obsidian encases this room, for those who are wondering. Now let's say I want to close the door, because, well, you have to close the door. You want a reset button. Usually there's a reset button, but I thought to myself, reset buttons are only for people who want to reset stuff, but I am more of a I'm too lazy to reset stuff person. So instead I made 2 options to reset stuff. Either press any button once, it would reset it because of the rule of pressing any button twice would reset the entire system. Now I did that because, well, I made first the password to be press each one once, so it kind of lessens the action of me redstone wiring, because it's kind of tiring to build a system for each button to reset the entire system if pressed twice or thrice. I can make it 3 times as well, however the contraption would be bigger. Now the other way to close the door, is to simply just close the piston. Now in a few moments you should hear the door close. There we go. So yeah, now again it takes time for the door to close, then the door to open due to, well, I'll show you. You'll see. So let's go down, shall we? Let's go down into the evil lair. Okay, right here. Now this is the thing that leads to the piston. So let's go down. Here it is. It's so big. Okay, this thing right here, this entire place is just for the 8 buttons. Now this is just the first floor. The second floor is down here. The second floor is less stuff, but there's still stuff in it, just not the middle part. Now I will have to explain step by step how this works. So if you don't want to listen to this, you could skip ahead in the video. But let's begin on how each button works out. Now, there's 2 main parts per button. The reset system for pressing it twice, or out of turn. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys that. So if you press a button out of turn, it also resets the system. So it's like a, you know, those games where you have to press the buttons in order, if not, it resets the system. So it all starts at the bottom, right bottom. I labeled it, just in case I forget. So right now, as I said, this is split into two parts. The system where if I press wrong or press something twice, it will reset. And the system where I have to press the buttons in order. Now the part where I press the buttons in order are on top. So I put a memory cell here, which is basically a cell or a type of redstone contraption that actually records what I press. So right now, each memory cell affects the next memory cell. So if we follow the cell that this one is, it's currently turned off. Because if I was to press the button, which is up there, it would turn on this redstone right here, therefore turning off this redstone. If this redstone is turned... Oh, wow, Fender. If this redstone was turned off, then if we follow this redstone all the way across the room... Oh, by the way, notice how I changed the current to make this off when that is on. So if we follow this, it goes to the top right forward button with the memory cell. And what this does is basically it turns on this redstone so that this memory cell cannot be changed. So it's like a fail-safe lock again. So if I was to press the button, usually if I put a current onto this block or anything on this wire would stay lit as long as nothing is protecting it. Now, what this redstone does is it basically makes sure, because if one wire is on, the other would be off. That's what the memory cell does. So this wire makes sure that this turns on all the time, even if the button is pressed. And the only way for this redstone torch to turn off is if the memory cell before, which is the button that we just saw, was turned on, so that this will be lighting. And this memory cell affects the other memory cell, so it basically creates a huge chain reaction for each button. And let's say I was to break the redstone, let's just say it's off, then what I could do is just press the button. If I have a button. No, I don't have a button. Let's find the button. It's okay, I have to use a redstone. Nope, that doesn't work. Nope, that doesn't work either. Oh, silly me. Okay, I'll do that. Or not. Okay, if I was to do that, see, the power would actually go. So, yeah. So now it actually stays, the power actually stays in this line, and then it goes to the other power cell and turns off the redstone that keeps it turned off. This redstone right here. Now, let's say the redstone is on. What would happen? Well, let's see. We put the redstone here. It wouldn't switch, the power wouldn't switch this line because this line is being protected by the redstone. So that's what basically it does. And if I was to end here, the order of the buttons that I press would work. However, that also means that if I was to randomly press buttons, the door would sometime open. It would at the end it will somehow open if I press each button once. In any order I want, the doors will open at least if I press the button twice or once, depending on how I press it. Oh, that's the lava chamber with the obsidian. So basically, what I set up is two rules. If a button is pressed twice, it will reset, and if a button is pressed out of order, it will also reset. Now how this works is actually quite interesting, simple, but it takes a big place to make. So the bottom section is where the system decides if this button is pressing out of order or this button has been pressed twice. Now, what I did here is create a memory cell again and connect two power outlets. One power comes from the memory cell that is from default, which is basically the memory cell which has the redstone attached to it, so that if I was to press the button, the power won't switch to this line. And I also attached a line, or redstone, to the button pressing, to the button basically, and I connected them all down here. Now since this power is constant because it's a default power source, I connected it to the memory cell and created the same thing above ground, which is basically powering this line so that the other line won't be powered. Same idea as the top, so it's like a fail-safe again. And now I also connected this power, this constant power, to an AND switch. Now what the AND switch does is it has two lines, right? If both powers are supplied to the AND switch, the other power will come out from the other end. So I connected the button to one end of the AND switch, and then the constant power to the other end. Now the constant power is good because if this was in turn, if the button was pressed in turn, the constant power would turn off. So that also means that I could then press the button again, and then this thing would actually turn on, and this would turn off. And that also means the AND switch would not be able to work because this this torch, redstone torch, won't actually turn off. Therefore, this AND switch won't work. And the back of the AND switch connects all the way to the reset station, or the redstone slash door closing reset station. Now, I'll talk about that later. For now, that's one thing done. This basically represents if the button is pressed out of turn, it will reset the system. Now, we have to look at if the button is pressed twice, because what if the button is, let's say, resetted, if the button is out of turn, is in turn, but someone presses it twice. Now, it's actually, you don't actually need to do it for the pressing twice. However, it is again a fail-safe, number one. Number two, if let's say we have because the end button, the last button in the order, actually doesn't have a way to know if it's actually in order. So that's why this comes in. It's also a good way to check if there's any bugs in the system. It basically fixes a lot of bugs later on. So yeah. So this thing, the if pressed twice button, if pressed twice AND switch, it's also AND switch, is a lot more interesting. So basically what it does is it uses the other end of the cell, memory cell. So unless it's actually in turn and the button is pressed, since the button is attached to this memory cell, this end of the memory cell, so if the top button is pressed and this memory cell is opened, the power would stay on without tripping the AND switch over there. And then the power would lead all the way to this AND switch and it will actually turn it off. So yeah, and you put delayers here so that because the other end of the AND switch is also attached to a button. So same idea with the if pressed out of turn AND switch. However, this time we're using it as the memory cell is turned the other way around. It's basically the same idea, except one is from both ends, the other is from the other end. So yeah, because it's kind of hard to explain unless I draw it out. So yeah, if I was to explain this in action, here's how it goes. I press the button once, the energy flows all the way to this, and it stays on. It keeps this redstone torch from closing. And it also makes sure that it also double checks that it's actually on. So it turns on, closes that redstone torch, and the button that I just pressed also closes that redstone torch. Not simultaneously though, because there's a delayer here. 3 delayers in fact at maximum. So basically what that does is basically it makes sure that since a button only presses for 3 to 4 seconds, it makes sure that these two are delayed until the next round. So this will keep on staying on, but this won't. So now that this keeps on staying on, because it isn't on right now, off, sorry. So if it turns off, because if it's off, that turns on. That's how redstones work. So basically what this does now is if I press the button one more time, these two will actually be in sync. Therefore, it will turn this on. And it'll flow all the way to the top. Now let's go to the top. And if I say on, it usually means off in redstone language, but you don't have to learn that if you aren't interested. So if you follow the outcome of the two ANDs, it goes up to the second floor, or third floor if you call it, and it basically connects all the wires from all the 8 switches, 8 systems, and then says, okay, so if that system is on and it sends a signal says, oh, you pressed it twice, it connects all the way to this thing, converts the power to opposite force. It converts the power so that it's actually off, goes all the way across the room, and this place leads up to the 2 redstone torches, so that if you were to press it, it turns on or off. And this leads all the way to the first button, which is designed so that the memory cell will go back to default. Basically, you don't have to learn what it is. If I was to say it, it would take some time. Now, what you need to do last, well, it's not a tutorial, but what I had to do last is actually just connect the final button to the door, because, well, yeah. So this is, the middle section here is basically the last button connecting the last memory cell with the end result connecting to the door by going the long route, because I kind of already filled up the entire room, going up and then all the way up to the floor. Basically that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, it's kind of a mouthful, but yeah, that's basically how it works. And yeah. Oh, scary music. That's definitely not good. And those who are wondering, I will make more videos. I had tons of stuff I had to do in summer, so yeah. There we go. So let's see that again. So let's say I was to press the button out of turn, like so. It would actually blink, and then it resets itself. So yeah. And let's go outside for a second. I want to show you guys what else is happening. Nothing much though, so don't get too excited. Now this thing, the contraption here is kind of simple. I don't need to explain it. It's just wires after wire. This is actually my first redstone creation, I believe. And yeah, and then my third one was the biggest one. My second was the combination lock. So not bad for a beginner. And if you have any ideas or any suggestions, please post them in the comments. I believe you could actually make the system smaller, but I'm not sure. So yeah, let's go outside. Yes, I'm on peaceful mode. Yeah. So you can see nothing has really changed, except for the fact that I'm back to default texture pack because of the update and stuff. Yeah. So, oh, yeah, I've been working on my underground water thingy. I probably won't be working on it for a long time unless I put a redstone project in there, because I am currently addicted to redstone after watching some really cool redstone productions. So here it is. Now, I made it complete out of cobblestone because I wanted to make it, like, old and submarine-ish. It's not done yet, but it's progress so far. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. However, you can see it's kind of tight because that was what I was aiming at. Feels more like a submarine feeling. And, yeah. Now, the cobblestone in my texture pack, what I had before was a much better looking, so I might have to switch my cobblestone. I heard Notch actually changed the cobblestone texture to look better. So yeah, this is Super Kaito Kid, over and out.